Welcome back, everybody, to the Metal Command podcast. Tony here with you. And of course, I am joined by somebody who has played in a lot of great bands, more bands than I can count. But every one of those projects, in my opinion, has always been a very high quality album that he's participated on. That would be Mr. Jimmy Waldo from Alcatrazz. And of course, we have a new Alcatrazz album coming out very soon. And I am welcoming you to the show, talking to you for the first time. And I'm really excited for this interview, actually, because you've played on so many albums that I absolutely love.
Oh, wow. That's a huge compliment. Mm-hmm. As opposed to, you hear some people talk about, I talked to so-and-so, he was on that crappy album that it was not the keyboard player's fault, but, maybe just a bad situation where he worked for somebody bad, but a lot of bad records. I've been very fortunate. Through no fault of my own, I just kind of stumbled into these things, and met people and stuff, and it just worked out.
Right. Absolutely. So we'll talk about some of those projects, but let's get into the upcoming Alcatrazz album, because that's definitely what we have coming out. You have some re-recordings on that. You have a new singer, and definitely tell everybody about that record. I know when I talked to Giles, he said it was kind of like, instead of recording a live record, why don't we just do studio tracks? That was one of the things he mentioned. But, talk about that record, and which comes out, I believe, November 7th.
Yes.
I could be wrong. Yeah. So yes. Let's talk about that record and why you decided to go that route.
Well, we had been playing with Giles. I mean, actually, I'd worked with Giles years ago. He was managing the Graham Bonnet Band. Mm-hmm. And I was playing keyboard. He got me involved in the Graham Bonnet Band.
Sure.
And so Giles was on the road with us, and Graham didn't do sound checks, or about one sound check out of 30. So Giles would sing the sound checks, and we were doing some Alcatrazz songs at the time, and sure. And Giles would just sing his ass off. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, wow, this guy, he hits the notes that he could kill this stuff. Mm-hmm. And this went on for a couple of years. And then we finally made the move. After Doogie left and everything, we made a move. Giles was the obvious choice. And there was a big U.S. tour coming up. So we'd already played in Europe with Giles. We've done about 100 shows with Giles. And we just thought, this is crazy. We got to get him on a recording. And then we thought, well, to introduce him to people, the best thing to do would put him on traditional Alcatrazz stuff that he'd been singing anyway on the road. And that'll get him in perspective with fans. They can relate to, he's doing Island in the Sun or Hiroshima Mon Amour. People can relate to those songs and, that's Giles. Oh, that's cool. So that's what started it. We just wanted to get him introduced to people. Because he's the guy, and I love him as a friend, but he's just killing the stuff as a singer. I mean, live, he's the most consistent singer I've ever worked with.
Okay.
That I've ever toured with. Pitch, attitude, show, whatever. He's just bam. Walks on stage, having a bad day on the road, no sleep, but the minute he walks on stage, it's on.
Right.
And that's the way Joe Stump is, and that's the way I am. I try to bring it no matter what. This is the deal. Yeah. So Giles, great. We just want to introduce him to people.
Yeah.
We picked those songs to do it with, and a couple songs off, some past records. And we have one new song on there that Giles wrote. I jumped in on a few things, but Joe and I, but Giles basically wrote that. So yeah, introduction.
Now you're working on another actual studio album.
Yes.
As well. And yes. I think this is more, and it's interesting you say it's a good introduction, because I think it is. I think that when I heard the Island in the Sun single, for example, I thought he fit really, really well on that track. And in listening to other, previous people obviously singing that track,
right.
This like from a live perspective or even the original version of it, I thought he did a really good job on it. And, unfortunately, it seems like the reaction was mostly positive. Usually you get a lot of backlash for that.
Yeah.
And it looked like, most people seem to really like his version of it.
It did. The people I talked to, and I've got some friends that are pretty brutal They've never held back, and some of those. Actually, I've got some friends that don't even like Alcatrazz.
Okay.
That's not their favorite band. They don't dislike it, but and we've been friends for years, musicians and non-musicians, and they said, "Wow, whoever that guy is, that sounds like Alcatrazz." And that was a huge compliment to Giles and to me, that we got a guy that it sounds like Alcatrazz. It doesn't sound like, well, yeah, you and Joe are playing like Alcatrazz, but the singer sounds like he belongs in Foreigner.
Sure.
We didn't want a Foreigner guy,
Yeah.
And I love Foreigner, but that's not the style we do. So yeah, it's been interesting, but it's been great. And Doogie was great. I love Doogie. Great guy, but he had sung some of the Alcatrazz stuff in Yngwie's band.
Okay. Yeah.
When he was with Yngwie. So he was burnt out. Some of these songs he just didn't want anything to do with.
Yeah.
Because he'd sung them so much.
Yeah.
So Doogie, he was like fighting it. He didn't, whereas Giles grew up on this stuff. So Giles couldn't wait. Giles would sing everything. We'd be doing the whole record if it made sense, but that doesn't make sense. So,
right.
But yeah, and that, for me, that's what I wanted. I want somebody that's going to jump in there. There's no money. It's not like we're paying somebody a lot of money. So I wanted somebody that was going to have their heart into it. And the personality thing, and that's so important. And people, I know guys in bands are always looking for the hottest musicians in town or in the world. And they think, oh, we get those guys and this guy and the super group thing. Oh man, then that's going to do it. And that's not where it's at, because the fans, yourself, whatever, you're not listening to, you don't really care who's in the band. You appreciate the playing maybe, but to you, I'm sure it's more important, the songs and the vocals.
Yeah.
That to me is the most important thing when I hear a new band. And so I said, oh, you got to check these guys out. The first thing I just gravitate towards, okay, what's the singer like? And the songs. And it doesn't matter how heavy it is. It could be death metal, but if it's got a thing, and it's got, there are good songs in that genre, then I'm in, but Giles really brings it. I mean, he's part of this. It's like he's been there all along, put it that way.
Yeah.
He'd sing at sound check, and my God, the guy just walks up to the mic and we go, well, we got about 10 minutes, but we got to get a level on Graham's in-ears and whatever. Giles would just go, play a song. So, well, let's do Jet to Jet. And okay, bam, he'd sing the crap out of it and we'd be done.
Yeah, I think it's more important. I think too many times with many bands out there, and I've been, doing this show for the better part of 27 years, is that when you have musicians, when you're looking to pick people in, bring them into the band, I don't think it's as much of a problem now. But, let's say 15, 20 years ago, they would look to bring, some of the more well-known names out there instead of bringing the right people in there.
That's right.
And what it would do is you'd bring this in, you get these really high expectations. The chemistry isn't there. And then you put this record out and it bombs, essentially. Yeah. And I think most people now, especially more veteran bands, have learned from that. And have, instead of going after a brand name, they pick, okay, who's the best fit? Who's the best fit from a personality perspective? Who's the best fit musically? And I think now you are seeing a lot of these more unknown musicians in some of these bands that have been around 30, 40 years and it's made a huge difference. And
that's why, because when they met the big band, and the famous band met them, it was like, this guy's cool. He delivers the goods.
Yeah.
He can sing or play this stuff like we want it, like we want it to feel a certain way.
Yep. And
he does it. So, and he's a great guy. And he's got no past of, he's been to rehab 5 times and all that stuff, and I was done. I really wanted somebody that we could get along with, because Joe Stump and I get along so good. And he's such a cool guy, such a pro.
And he's been in the band the longest out of any guitar player.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he'll always be here, because I love working with Joe, and I love what he does as a musician, but as a person, we get along great. And that's so important to me. Oh my
Sure.
God. So Giles is that way. Giles and I are friends. We were friends the first time we met in the Graham Bonnet band. Giles called me I didn't know him, and he says, "Hey, I'm managing Graham Bonnet, and I know you haven't talked to Graham in a long time, and would you be into playing on his record?" And I said, "Well, sure." I didn't ask about money. I was just like, "Hey, this will be cool. I get back together with Graham, playing," and we did, and that just sort of morphed into, okay, now I'm going to tour with him, and Giles was the manager.
Sure.
So it was a very natural progression to getting to be friends. And it's kind of cool because we got to be friends. He wasn't in the band. We weren't in a band together.
Yeah.
I saw him at his worst, where he's under fire. And I saw him go through all that, how he handles personalities and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I had an unusual, I don't know what you would call it, but most guys, when you get a guy in the band, you don't get to see that part of them. You meet somebody and maybe you know them for a few months, and then you like them and they play their ass off or sing their ass off, and you go, okay, great, that's the guy. And Giles, I got to know really well. We hung out, and it was good.
So the next record, the album that you're writing, the next album that's coming out, how has that progressed? Now that you have a pretty solid lineup right now.
It's progressed really pretty quickly. If we weren't touring and doing stuff, it would be almost done, but we've been busy, and Giles and I do the Warlord thing. So we've done some tours, and that's kind of gotten in the way of the Alcatrazz stuff, but
Sure.
But it's progressing great. I'm going to Boston on Thursday or Friday to work with Joe, but we got too many songs already.
Yeah,
we're going to pick from. So we're in good shape for having songs. We're really happy with them, and then we're going to put those together. Then Giles is coming to my house in Chicago on the 28th for 5 days, and then we're going to work on stuff that we got from Joe and stuff that he and I have been writing. We're going to finish it off. He's going to do some vocals here. And then we go to Sweden to tour a week later. So we're on a roll kind of thing. And then in Sweden, we'll be rehearsing for 2 days. So we're probably going to cut some guitars at rehearsals. Joe on some stuff, on a few things. So we're always just chewing away at it, Yeah.
Hey, it's Tony here from the Metal Command Show. I want to thank you for watching this portion of the program. Since 1998, I have hosted the show, which started off as a radio program and is now into the podcast format. So I want to thank you for watching and or listening. And if you want to support the program, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell to be notified anytime I do post any content. A lot of you have been supporting the show and really, really helping this show grow, and I cannot do it without all of you. So with that said, thanks for watching. Stay metal.